It starts with a quiet moment many Americans recognize but rarely talk about. You're driving through your city, maybe on your way to work, or picking up groceries, or visiting someone you care about. At an intersection you've crossed hundreds of times, you notice someone standing there, someone older or younger, or carrying a backpack or holding a small sign. Maybe it's the same person you saw last week. Maybe it's someone new, but for the first time, you really look. And a question forms, simple but heavy. How did homelessness become such a common part of the American landscape? For decades, homelessness was something many people believed happened far away, in large cities or distant neighborhoods. But today, it's visible in towns of every size, from coastal communities to the Midwest, from the South to the Mountain West. The face of homelessness has changed. It includes seniors who once lived comfortably, workers who lost stability after a sudden setback, families balancing childcare and unpredictable rent, and individuals navigating life transitions without a support system. Experts describe this shift as the result of many forces moving at once. Housing costs rising faster than wages, limited supply of affordable rentals, higher living expenses that outpace income growth, medical bills, caregiving responsibilities, or sudden job changes that disrupt budgets overnight. Not every story follows the same path, but many share the same theme: a fragile foundation that gives way more easily than it once did. Yet behind every trend is a human story. A retired warehouse worker in Nevada explains that he never imagined needing temporary shelter at age 62. A grocery store employee in North Carolina shares how an unexpected rent increase left her living in her car while saving for a new apartment. A couple in Washington state describes losing their home after a long period of caring for an ill family member. These stories are not rare. They're quietly common, spoken in community centers, shelters, libraries, and late-night conversations among friends. Still, homelessness is more than the absence of a home. It is the experience of uncertainty. People describe constantly planning the next day, where to rest, how to stay warm or cool, where to store belongings, how to commute to work, how to remain hopeful while rebuilding stability. Some stay in shelters, others stay temporarily with friends or relatives. Many live in vehicles. Each situation comes with its own challenges, routines, and decisions. For many Americans, the emotional side of witnessing homelessness is complicated. There is empathy, sadness, confusion, and sometimes a sense of helplessness about what individuals can realistically do. People want to understand. They want clarity. They want to know how communities reach this point and what might make a difference. This documentary begins by acknowledging a simple truth. Homelessness is not a distant issue. It is part of the daily fabric of modern America, experienced by people from all backgrounds and all age groups. And while every path into homelessness is unique, the patterns behind them reveal something important about the country's changing economic landscape. But understanding homelessness requires more than observing its presence. To truly see the full picture, we need to explore the conditions that push people toward instability, and the reasons these pressures have grown stronger over time. Which leads to an essential question we examine next. Why are so many Americans losing stable housing in the first place? Across the United States, the journey into homelessness often begins long before a person loses their home. It starts with rising expenses, shrinking savings, and a series of difficult choices that gradually tighten around a household. Many people describe it as a slow shift, not a sudden fall. One month feels manageable. The next month feels tight. And then one unexpected event. An illness, a rent increase, a job transition, a family responsibility pushes everything into uncertainty. For many Americans, the biggest factor is the cost of housing itself. Over the past 2 decades, rent has risen faster than wages in most major cities and in many smaller towns. In places like Phoenix, Tampa, Denver, and Charlotte, rental prices increased rapidly as populations grew. Even older buildings that once offered affordable options now cost far more than they used to. Families who have lived in the same neighborhoods for years often find themselves priced out when leases renew. While rising housing costs play a central role, they are only one piece of the picture. Everyday expenses, insurance, food, utilities, transportation, also shape the path toward stability or instability. When these costs increase together, even small financial setbacks can become overwhelming. A temporary reduction in work hours can lead to unpaid bills. A car repair can disrupt rent payments. A medical appointment can shift a family's monthly budget. Each situation is manageable on its own, but combined, they create pressure that is difficult to escape. Another factor is the availability of affordable housing. In many communities, the number of rental units that meet the needs of working families has not kept pace with population growth. When demand surpasses supply, prices rise, and people with the least financial flexibility feel the impact first. Some move farther away, others live with relatives. Some begin staying in hotels or weekly rentals, which can become costly over time. For individuals on fixed incomes, such as retirees, the challenges can be especially significant. A modest rent increase can strain a monthly budget, leaving little room for emergencies. Many seniors describe wanting to remain independent, but finding it increasingly difficult to manage rising expenses without assistance. Families face their own pressures. Childcare costs, school-related expenses, and transportation needs require stable planning. When housing becomes unstable, everything else becomes more difficult to manage. Parents often prioritize their children's comfort and routines, sometimes taking on additional jobs or shifting schedules to maintain stability. Another pathway into homelessness involves life transitions. Divorce, the loss of a loved one, or unexpected caregiving responsibilities can change a household's financial structure. Even individuals with steady employment may find it difficult to reestablish stability quickly when major life changes happen. Experts emphasize that homelessness rarely has a single cause. Instead, it is the result of multiple pressures converging at the same time. This is why generalizations or assumptions often fail to capture the true nature of the issue. Every story is individual. Every journey is shaped by timing, community resources, employment opportunities, and personal circumstances. Understanding the forces that lead people toward homelessness is the first step. The next is understanding what happens afterward, how people navigate their daily lives once housing is lost. For many Americans experiencing homelessness, daily life becomes a series of carefully planned decisions, choices that most housed people rarely have to think about. It is not a single experience, but a wide spectrum of circumstances. Some individuals stay in shelters. Some live temporarily with friends or relatives. Others stay in their vehicles. Some rely on short-term motel rooms, and some live outdoors in visible or less visible locations. Each circumstance brings its own routine, challenges, and form of adaptation. People who stay in shelters often describe the experience as structured but temporary. Shelters can offer meals, hygiene facilities, supportive staff, and a sense of safety. They also operate on schedules, rules, and limited capacity. Some individuals appreciate the predictability. Others find it hard to maintain jobs or routines when adjusting to new environments. Still, shelters serve as a vital resource, especially during extreme heat or cold, or when someone is trying to regroup after an unexpected setback. Those staying temporarily with friends or relatives, a situation often called couch surfing, face a different challenge. They may not consider themselves homeless, but they lack stable housing. Their goal is usually to save money, rebuild, and eventually secure a place of their own. Many express gratitude for this form of support, while also feeling the pressure of living in someone else's space. People living in vehicles describe a routine built on planning and discretion. They choose safe, well-lit areas, maintain their cars carefully, and manage daily tasks like food storage, laundry, and job schedules with precision. While this arrangement provides privacy and mobility, it can also be isolating, and long-term maintenance costs can be difficult to manage. For individuals living outdoors, daily life is shaped by weather, personal safety, and the challenge of storing belongings. Many people create structured routines, waking early, organizing essentials, visiting community centers, charging phones, or looking for day work. Libraries, churches, and community facilities often become important parts of the daily rhythm, offering internet access, restrooms, or simply a quiet space. Yet despite these challenges, one theme appears again and again: resilience. People experiencing homelessness demonstrate remarkable resourcefulness. They find ways to stay connected with friends, maintain employment, care for pets, explore community programs, or pursue long-term goals. Many continue working during this period, using shelters or vehicles as transitional spaces while saving for future housing. At the same time, homelessness brings emotional weight. People describe a constant awareness of time, weather, and logistics. They think about where to store personal documents, how to prepare for job interviews, how to commute, or how to remain hopeful while navigating uncertainty. This emotional labor is often invisible to those who do not experience homelessness firsthand. Another aspect of daily life is the challenge of maintaining stability while seeking services. Access to showers, laundry, transportation, and health care requires planning. Many individuals form supportive connections with local nonprofits, caseworkers, and community volunteers. These connections often become stepping stones toward rebuilding stability. Yet behind all these routines and adaptations lies a broader question. When someone loses stable housing, what prevents them from regaining it quickly? For many Americans, the most surprising truth about homelessness is not how people lose housing, but how challenging it can be to regain it. Even with determination, employment, and careful planning, individuals often encounter barriers that slow or complicate their path back to stability. These barriers aren't always visible from the outside, yet they shape nearly every step of the process. One of the most significant challenges is the cost of moving into a new place. Rent itself is only one part of the equation. Application fees, security deposits, last month rent, utility deposits, and transportation costs add up quickly. For someone trying to rebuild after a period of instability, these upfront expenses can be overwhelming. Many individuals say they can afford monthly rent, but struggle with the initial costs required to get started. Another barrier is the limited availability of affordable rentals. In many cities, vacancy rates are low, especially for budget-friendly units. When an apartment becomes available, competition is high. Applicants often need strong credit histories, stable income, or references, requirements that can be difficult for someone who recently experienced a setback. Even individuals who are fully employed may face long wait lists or high demand that slows their progress. Transportation presents another layer of complexity. When someone loses housing, they may also lose access to reliable transportation or have to relocate far from work, making job stability more difficult. Long commutes increase costs and time pressures, especially in areas without extensive public transit. Rebuilding stability often requires maintaining work, attending appointments, and searching for new housing. tasks made harder when travel is unpredictable. Documentation can also become a hurdle. Birth certificates, identification cards, social security documents, and employment records are essential for housing applications. Yet these items are sometimes lost during periods of instability. Replacing them takes time, patience, and money. Without proper identification, even small steps, opening a bank account, applying for an apartment, or accessing certain services, can become complicated. Emotional and mental strain also affects the process. People navigating homelessness describe feeling pressured to stay positive while managing constant uncertainty. They carry the daily challenge of balancing work, appointments, transportation, and communication. Maintaining motivation becomes harder when progress feels slow. People talk about the need for encouragement, planning, and patience, qualities that are difficult to sustain in stressful circumstances. In many communities, supportive programs exist to help individuals rebuild stability. Caseworkers, housing navigators, community centers, and nonprofit organizations offer guidance, financial assistance, and encouragement. But accessing these resources can be a process. Programs may have eligibility rules, limited availability, or wait lists. Some individuals are unaware of local services or unsure how to begin. Others feel hesitant to ask for help, wanting to maintain independence. Still, many people succeed in rebuilding stability, even after long periods of uncertainty. They describe the importance of routines, supportive relationships, consistent communication with service providers, and a willingness to adjust expectations as circumstances change. Their stories show that progress is possible, even when it takes time. These realities point to a broader question. If the barriers to exiting homelessness are so significant, what can communities do to reduce them and support long-term stability? Across the country, communities are working to understand and respond to homelessness in thoughtful, practical ways. While no single solution fits every region, many cities and organizations have developed approaches that make meaningful differences in people's lives. These solutions vary, from housing programs to community partnerships, but they share a common goal: creating pathways back to stability that are realistic, respectful, and sustainable. One widely discussed approach is known as housing first. Its central idea is simple. People rebuild their lives more effectively when they have a stable place to stay. In many cities, this model provides permanent or long-term housing without requiring people to meet strict conditions beforehand. Supportive caseworkers then help residents address employment, budgeting, or health needs at their own pace. Communities using this approach often report improved outcomes, greater stability, and stronger engagement between residents and support staff. Another important component is the expansion of affordable housing. Cities like Minneapolis, Houston, and Columbus have experimented with zoning updates, incentives for developers, and public-private partnerships to increase the number of rental units available to working families. These efforts take time, but they offer long-term benefits by ensuring communities have a healthier balance of housing options. When more homes are available at a range of price points, people experiencing homelessness have more realistic pathways back into stable housing. Nonprofits play a central role in nearly every region. Many provide transitional housing, rental assistance, job training, and financial education. Others help people navigate applications, locate available rentals, or connect with employers who offer steady work. Caseworkers describe their role as walking alongside individuals, offering support, encouragement, and guidance during a challenging transition. These partnerships are especially valuable for people who have been disconnected from support systems or who are rebuilding after major life changes. Community centers, libraries, and faith-based organizations also contribute in practical ways. They provide safe spaces, information, skill-building workshops, and connections to local programs. In many towns, they are the first place a person goes when stability begins to slip. Volunteers often describe the power of simple consistency, being present, offering resources, and ensuring people feel welcomed rather than judged. Innovative programs are emerging as well. Some cities offer mobile resource teams that travel to areas where people are staying, reducing barriers to support. Others partner with employers to create pathways from temporary shelter into steady jobs. In a few regions, hotel conversions and modular housing projects have provided long-term homes for individuals who previously lived outdoors or in vehicles. These solutions reflect a growing recognition that homelessness is not a single problem, but a set of interconnected challenges that require flexible, community-based responses. Transportation assistance, financial coaching, and flexible rental programs also show promise. Helping people manage commuting costs, understand budgeting, or transition gradually into new housing can make a significant difference. Even small interventions, such as reduced application fees or temporary rental support, can help households overcome the barriers that often delay progress. A gentle, optional reflection. If your own community has experimented with new housing programs or partnerships, you may have seen firsthand how collaboration can create meaningful change. Many residents express that simply learning about these efforts helps them feel more connected to the solutions taking shape around them. As these approaches expand, they raise an important question. What motivates people to keep going, day after day? When rebuilding stability takes time, patience, and resilience. For individuals working to rebuild stability, progress rarely happens all at once. It unfolds gradually, through small steps, steady routines, and moments of encouragement that might seem ordinary from the outside, but feel meaningful to the person experiencing them. This quieter side of the journey is often overlooked, yet it is here that resilience becomes visible in everyday ways. Many people describe establishing routines as the first sign of forward momentum. A consistent wake-up time, a daily stop at a community center or library, regular communication with a caseworker, keeping track of appointments, documents, and job schedules. These routines create structure during a time that might otherwise feel uncertain. Individuals say that even small habits, charging a phone each morning, organizing belongings, preparing for interviews, help them feel grounded. Employment plays a significant role as well. Countless people experiencing homelessness continue working, sometimes juggling shifting schedules or long commutes. They take pride in staying committed to their jobs despite obstacles. For some, stable employment becomes the anchor that shapes the rest of their progress. Others use part-time or temporary positions as stepping stones while saving for deposits or paying down expenses. Community relationships make a powerful difference too. Caseworkers, volunteers, librarians, outreach teams, and neighbors become familiar faces. People who recognize them, talk to them, help them navigate paperwork, or simply ask how their day is going. These interactions help reduce the isolation that often accompanies homelessness. Individuals say that knowing someone remembers their name or encourages them during a setback can make it easier to stay motivated. Small victories add up. Securing new identification after losing documents, completing a training course, getting a call back from a rental application, saving enough for a deposit, moving into a temporary or transitional program. Each milestone reinforces the belief that stability is possible. Many people keep notebooks where they track progress or write down goals. Some describe the first night in a new room or apartment as a moment they will never forget, a quiet reminder that they are moving forward. Creativity also plays a role in resilience. People develop ways to manage daily tasks efficiently, planning routes between appointments, sharing information with others, organizing belongings for easier travel, preparing low-cost meals, or learning new skills online. These adaptations are not signs of ease, they are signs of determination. The ability to continue moving forward even when the path is long. Emotional resilience is equally important. Individuals often speak about hope, focus, and perspective. They remind themselves why they are working so hard: to reunite with family, to return to school, to rebuild financial security, or simply to regain a sense of normalcy. They celebrate progress even when challenges remain. Many say that believing in the possibility of change is just as crucial as the practical steps they take each day. There is also a strong sense of community among people experiencing homelessness. They share resources, offer advice, and help one another navigate local services. A person who recently found housing might guide someone who is just beginning the process. Someone with experience living in a vehicle might offer practical tips to those adjusting to similar circumstances. These informal networks become lifelines that grow from shared understanding and mutual respect. As we look at these small victories and daily demonstrations of resilience, another question emerges. What does long-term stability look like? And how do people move from progress to permanence? That journey brings us to the final chapter: the possibilities, hopes, and shared efforts that shape a future beyond homelessness. Across the United States, long-term stability after homelessness looks different for every individual. But many stories share the same hopeful arc. Small steps become steady routines. Routines become opportunities, and opportunities eventually open the door to a place that finally feels like home again. This path isn't quick or simple, but it is real, and thousands of people walk it every year with the support of their communities. For many, the first sign of long-term stability is securing a consistent place to stay. This could be an apartment through a Housing First program, a rental shared with family, a unit found through a caseworker, or a room in transitional housing while searching for something permanent. People describe the emotional shift that happens when they no longer have to plan each day around where they will sleep. Suddenly, they can focus on routines, goals, and the details of daily life that become easier with stability. Once housing is secured, attention often turns to rebuilding foundations. Individuals begin organizing finances, repaying debts, saving for the future, or setting new goals around employment. Some enroll in training programs. Others take on additional responsibilities at work. Many describe how having a stable address makes everything else smoother. Applications, interviews, communication, and scheduling all become more manageable. Stability also allows people to reconnect. They rebuild relationships that may have been strained during periods of uncertainty. They visit family members more regularly. They rejoin social groups, faith communities, or neighborhood gatherings. These connections strengthen their sense of belonging and reinforce the belief that they're moving forward, not just starting over. Community programs continue to play a crucial role during this phase. Caseworkers help individuals maintain progress and address new obstacles that arise, whether related to budgeting, transportation, or long-term planning. Nonprofits offer workshops on financial literacy, tenant rights, and job readiness. Some programs provide mentorship opportunities, pairing individuals with community members who offer guidance and encouragement. These relationships often last long after the initial support period ends. Small milestones mark the journey in ways that feel deeply personal. Purchasing furniture for the first time in years, decorating a room with chosen items, cooking meals in a stable kitchen, or receiving mail at a permanent address. People describe these details with pride, not because they are extravagant, but because they represent independence and the return of everyday normalcy. Even after housing is secured, challenges can continue. Rent can rise, job schedules can shift, or unexpected expenses can appear. But people who have rebuilt stability often feel better equipped to navigate these moments. They use the skills, routines, and support networks they developed during their transition. They know how to reach out to community programs, budget carefully, or adjust plans without losing momentum. Across interviews and community reports, one message appears consistently. Long-term stability is possible because people do not walk the journey alone. They are supported by caseworkers who listen, neighbors who welcome them, employers who offer flexibility, and organizations that believe in second chances. They succeed not because the path is easy, but because they are resilient, and because communities recognize that stable housing benefits everyone. This brings us to a larger reflection. Homelessness is not only an individual experience, it is a community-wide issue. When one person regains stability, the community grows stronger. Neighborhoods become safer, local businesses thrive, and families feel more secure. Each success story represents the combined efforts of individuals, organizations, and neighbors working toward a shared goal. And so, we close with the same question we opened with. How did homelessness become such a common part of the American landscape? But now, we add a new one. What can we do together to ensure that stability and dignity are within reach for everyone? The answer begins with understanding, compassion, and cooperation. And most importantly, with the belief that progress, no matter how gradual, is always possible. The path forward begins with a shift in how communities understand homelessness, not as a distant issue, but as a shared responsibility and a reflection of the conditions many Americans face today. When people talk openly about the rising cost of living, economic uncertainty, and the challenges of maintaining stable housing, it becomes easier to recognize the common threads that connect housed and unhoused individuals alike. Homelessness is not a separate world. It is connected to the realities that many families already experience. Tight budgets, unexpected expenses, limited housing availability, and the ongoing effort to build stability in a changing economy. One of the most encouraging developments across the United States is the growing awareness that small, consistent efforts can create meaningful change. Community members volunteer at local organizations, donate household items, participate in neighborhood cleanups, or support nonprofits that provide essential services. While these actions may seem modest, they help build the infrastructure that allows larger systems to function. Many people experiencing homelessness say that even small acts of kindness, being treated with respect, receiving helpful information, or being offered a warm meal, can make them feel seen and valued during difficult times. Local governments and organizations are experimenting with new strategies aimed at preventing homelessness before it begins. Early intervention programs help families who are facing temporary setbacks, providing rental assistance, mediation with landlords, or short-term financial support. These efforts often cost less than long-term shelter stays and help prevent deeper instability. They also give households time to recover from job changes, medical expenses, or family transitions without losing their homes. Another hopeful trend is the rise of community-based partnerships. In many cities, service providers, churches, local businesses, and volunteers work together to create seamless support networks. These partnerships help residents navigate housing applications, access transportation, prepare for job interviews, or manage day-to-day challenges. The strength of these networks demonstrates how communities can amplify their impact when they coordinate efforts and share resources. Education also plays a powerful role in reshaping the future. Workshops on financial planning, tenant rights, digital skills, and career development empower individuals to build long-term stability. Many people who have transitioned out of homelessness use these skills to manage budgets, pursue promotions, or explore new career paths. Over time, these educational efforts contribute to stronger, more resilient communities where individuals feel better prepared for unexpected changes. At the heart of these solutions is a simple idea. When people feel supported, they are more likely to succeed. Stability grows when communities create environments where individuals can rebuild with dignity. Where progress is recognized, setbacks are understood, and opportunities are accessible. This mindset encourages a more compassionate and practical approach to addressing homelessness, focusing on prevention, cooperation, and long-term success. Hope for the future is grounded in the real progress already happening. Cities have reduced homelessness through coordinated outreach. Families have rebuilt their lives with the help of rental assistance and supportive programs. Seniors have regained stability through targeted housing initiatives. Workers have secured homes after navigating long periods of uncertainty. These examples show that while the issue is complex, progress is possible. This documentary ends on a simple but powerful message. Homelessness is not an unsolvable problem. It is a challenge that responds to understanding, planning, and collective effort. Every person who finds stable housing represents a step forward, not just for themselves, but for their community. And the path forward becomes clearer when we remember that the question is not only what causes homelessness, but also what helps people rise from it. The answer is found in empathy, coordinated action, and the belief that everyone deserves the chance to build a safe, stable future, one step at a time.